All right, welcome back to Get a Grip on Lighting, our live stream at Canada Light Expo. If you haven't been here yet, you only have a few hours left to check it out. Otherwise, we'll see you next year at 2025. But today, I'm the co-host of the Lighting Controls podcast here, talking with David. David, do you mind just giving us a quick breakdown on who
Yeah.
you are and what you do?
So I'm David Katz. I'm here in Canada, up in Toronto. I'm here on behalf of the Ontario Sustainable Energy Association, but I have over 35 years of energy experience, including working with the utilities and lighting and LEDs and all the progressions that I saw from a 60-watt incandescent bulb to now magical LEDs. And I'm here to show the linkage between the energy saving, the daylighting, and supporting the applications of lighting and smart buildings. I'm here also with my associate, where I'm also a member of ASHB, which is the Automated Smart Homes and Building Association organization, I guess it's called.
Sure.
No, it's actually association. They changed after 31 years of being CABA, so CABA's in my brain. And
Well,
so I'm here happy to talk to Webster and meet amazing lighting people, some of the technologies and what I'm learning about lighting and how it relates to your health and things that are not related to energy.
totally. Well, and yeah, I
Go
mean, I
ahead.
guess out of curiosity, what have you learned while you've been here?
Well, I think the challenges of protocols of DALI versus lawn versus whatever it was is similar to what we went through with Honeywell Johnson Siemens. That's
Mm-hmm.
why BACnet beat up lawn, Echelon,
Sure.
which was proprietary but open to some degree. And even BACnet is.
Well, yeah, I mean, every protocol's got its standard
So I
requirements.
learned a bit about that. I learned also, and I know this from my experience with regard to going around Europe and other countries pay 3 or 4 times more for energy than North America. And so the value of something that's in Europe and Germany could be a 3-year payback in energy, and here it's a 9-year payback.
Sure.
But there are certain things that they do that are advanced, like as we just heard this lady who's going to go see about hydrogen for building homes. And
Yeah, well, and so tell me a little bit more about OSE.
so OSEA was set up because our government of previous liberal government went over to Germany when they saw that Germany was putting solar on the roof, and they didn't have better sun than us. And obviously we know about California and sunny countries, but they built a feed-in tariff. They said if people put solar on their roof, we will give them 80 and a half cents a kilowatt hour. And at the time, solar panels cost probably $10 a watt. Now
Sure.
they're $1 a watt.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a quick payback,
Right.
but we wanted to start an industry. But the Ontario Power Authority, which is the grid operator, the people giving the money, because we have, at the time, 300 local distribution companies and the big central generator and power. So they said, we don't want every farmer here talking about biomass and every wind guy. We formed a trade association. We didn't look about saving energy. It was about producing energy. And literally, I was part of the policy group that said you could sell electricity back to us. Initially, you could not make electricity legally and sell it in Ontario because we had a public power system that everybody had to support.
Yeah.
And so they did send me to California to learn about, and Berkeley to learn about demand response, not demand response, at the time was just energy conservation, so that we could have more capacity by bigger buildings, but the same transformer, right? Use less. People thought we were crazy. Why are they telling us not to buy their product, David? I said, because we don't have enough of it.
Right.
We need to give everybody electricity.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you're selling me LEDs, or at that time, compact fluorescents. So that's my background, and I'm
Yeah.
happy to be here and talk to you about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's great. So, I mean, over the time, we've seen sort of an evolution of more awareness to energy conservation, more, rapid growth in technology to try to support, a lack of energy resources. And we're also seeing a lot of technology now coming up that's becoming really quite power hungry. And so, we're seeing a lot of incentives to try to motivate people to really become much more conscientious of how much energy they're consuming and how on ways they can offset that. So what right now can people do that can really support the grid and support utilities in reducing the footprint that people are demanding on them.
Well, although we're at a lighting show, and as I mentioned to you, there's ways of put solar on the roof, but keep the lights on under the roof, and nobody's in the room is just a waste, right?
Yeah.
But people say, and literally, we when we put initial lighting in, we just put 3 switches on the wall, and we just told people, here, put a sign up. Turn it off when you leave. Nobody did it.
Right.
I get yelled at my house by so.
Well, I think that lack of trust to the end users really is part of that reason we're seeing encouragement through energy code requirements to use.
And when in Europe, as I said, if you pay 3 times more, the utilities have concentrated grid space. We have more space than we can imagine, as I mentioned to you about Hydro-Quebec and, James Bay. So to go to your point, I've seen the first incandescent bulb, and literally when we took Hydro-Quebec and BC Hydro went, wait, that 60-watt bulb is heating during the winter. Oh, you gave them a 15-watt LED? So now their electric-resistant heater is going to make up the difference.
Right.
So, as you know, energy can't be created. It can only be transformed, if that's the principle. And so we have to use energy for so many different things. But when we try to save it, the people using it go, wait a minute, I don't want to turn off my TV at night. It's recording my show or something. It's all about money.
Well, it's about convenience, too.
And what you're getting from it.
Yeah. Well, and I think to your point, we saw, with incandescent light bulbs changing over to LEDs, we're now having to generate that heat difference in a different way. Same thing with going from fluorescent ballasts to LED drivers. That's the same issue that public office buildings have to deal with. And so, how we still have the same issue, which is we have people in a space, they need to be able to use that space in a comfortable format. And so how do we make it so that people are still saving energy but comfortable in the space that they're occupying?
Well, we have to bring down the silos between all the building envelope people, those are the civil people. So as I showed you, we have automated shading that's AI's driven, knows where the sun is going. Nobody's running over and pulling the blind down and up.
Right.
And many people like to sit in an office and look out on the street and let the sun shine in. And meanwhile, their lights are still on, whether they're 12 watt or 32 watt. So, but to get to your point, like the way we have smart buildings, and this is also called smart lighting, as we see, the smart is, how do we exchange information between systems that's appropriate? So whether it's the door fob that says, I'm coming to my desk, please, downtown office building guy now, light up my desk, my hotel desk, right? Because we have like 30% vacancies and 3 days a week kind of thing.
Sure.
And as somebody presented, when we had COVID and everybody went home, nobody turned the lights off.
Right.
Well, we still had the cleaners had to come or something. Like, we just wasted. We'd have documented proof as the major buildings from BOMA, the Building Owners and Managers Association, you have it too in the States, that it didn't save much. And many of the data servers were on so people could work at home.
Sure.
So I think it's, like, as I said, I'm working on smart buildings. Lighting is just part of it. As I mentioned to you, people don't worry about 2 or 3 degrees in heating and cooling. They can take off their sweater. Men and women feel differently.
So we're seeing much more focus on changing how heating and cooling is working and offsetting that load rather than the lighting, because the lighting is much more easy to notice when it's
easy to notice. And as you presented, or some of the people, we used to be a bigger part of the plug load. Now we're not.
Right.
And I just watched Honeywell in the building automation space. They are doing it for cybersecurity.
Sure.
So we're now worried about, getting into the building through the thermostat, as I mentioned. And I'm going like, why would they do that? Because they can get to the bank information through the back door. So, but what Honeywell showed was now they literally have smart plug loads. And it is not for every light. but it is for monitors that are on that don't have to be on when there's nobody there to look at your big monitor. It is for slushy machines he was talking about that they're making slushy and the kids aren't in the cafeteria till tomorrow. Like it's like we waste energy.
Totally.
But the people that made the products, the appliance or whatever, I was putting behind refrigerators these little timer things, and then I was told, "Oh, you're hurting the compressor," and you know it's so when you backfit into an existing appliance that was made for a certain purpose, whether it was a pump, we put variable speeds on pumps, and we found out that they burnt up because they weren't made. They had a fan that was supposed to only cool them at a certain thing, and we made it go half as much.
Well, and yeah, I mean we've seen that also in the lighting industry with relays being soldered closed because they're not rated for LED inrush. So
wow,
we do need to do a good service of understanding the technologies we're trying to incorporate this intelligence control into. And additionally, the question is, well, we're dealing with a lot of different technologies when we're talking about smart buildings or smart homes. And so I agree with you that we do kind of need to knock down these barriers to the silos that we have. We have so much, well, I'm the lighting guy. I don't talk about this stuff.
Stay in your space.
Yeah. And I think we really do need to have more collaboration and conversations about this sort of topic because that's the only way we're gonna find better ways of improving efficiency and creating these sorts of innovations that really help us create a greener future.
And I think some of the things that I saw about the Nest thermostats and Alexa and digitalizing lighting and the information from the DALI that was shown that could be used for heat maps or occupancy or things beyond just, well, I'm paying less an energy bill.
Right.
And so as we get those technologies and our next generation, as I told you, my son has to show me my smartphone because I'm doing smart buildings. I keep saying this phone has more power than the buildings we're in.
Right. Well, and in some cases, yes. And I think the one thing that smartphones don't have is the sensing technology, the ability to know what's in the building at the time. I mean, yes, it's a powerful computer, but without the data points, it really can't do a lot. So that's the other component that we're hearing a lot about with lighting controls is leveraging the resources that already occupy the building. You have a lot of motion sensors throughout the building because you need to meet energy code. So why don't you leverage those motion sensors to help communicate with other systems? Why don't you tap into other devices throughout the building that really are already there instead of having to add additional layers of devices?
We are literally, I'm going in HR Expo before it, there's going to be a smart building summit. So it's called mondaylive.org. It's in the U.S. It's basically the guy from Acuity, from old building automation guys meet every Monday afternoon online, and they discuss the challenges of the industry. And literally, they're looking now at Linux and things that are much more open. There's a consortium for smart buildings in the U.S. It was set up by Biden and to facilitate under the IRA how to get things like even your public works people or your GSA. They have out of 50,000 buildings or something, right? And so they're trying to do more within those buildings in terms of energy and smart.
Well, and I think that also requires a good amount of education on the end user. I mean, a lot of facilities managers still don't necessarily understand the difference between a BACnet system and a DALI system. And that's kind of on us to do our due diligence of educating people and letting them understand what the benefits are to these systems.
And getting that curriculum. I just finished 14 weeks at Humber, which is about 5 minutes from here, college, and I taught energy management, building loads, and that's where I said I learned more about lighting in the slides. So, but those young people, one, they are smart on their phone and their AI and their searches. And so the next generation, they're already attuned to interoperability. And so we have to bring those silos down. And as you say, if you have occupancy sensors or even Li-Fi now, I'm going to show a slide. I couldn't believe what's Li-Fi. But,
what is Li-Fi? Just for our listeners who don't
putting
understand
the
that.
fixtures that have internet capability in the room. And so we're trying to get messages through the building. We struggle with repeaters, whether it's Zigbee or Z-Wave or whatever, wired versus wireless. I saw
Right.
all the debates about that. So I think the technology is way ahead of our learning curve. But my point was, we're struggling to get it into the curriculum.
Yeah.
We tried to get a smart building course, and we have to show the government how it's going to be. They keep teaching things from, like they gave me a set of slides that said 2009, and they wanted me to teach it. The theory was right,
Yeah.
but the information about what we
Technology's
use
outdated.
was wrong.
Yeah.
So then at the end, I saw, they added LEDs. They added a few new slides. We have to get this into the courses.
Yeah.
And it's all about change. Do
Right.
people like change? No.
No, not
We
really.
heard some of the specifiers yesterday or one of the days saying, hey, if Bluetron works, I'm just going to, it's the same old. I don't want to put the word or equal.
Right.
Now, she is buying for somebody who doesn't care. That's
Right.
not
Or
the government.
maybe that's an appropriate choice.
I had somebody from a city come here. I showed her our smart street light that my friend has designed and presented. And she went, we have to get 3 quotes. It's public money.
Yeah. Well, and that is the challenge with lighting controls specifically, is that it's hard to find equals when everybody's got their own system and own devices. So
Yeah. If you're buying a pump and you have a specification, it's got to be a 40 horsepower pump and 30,000 gallons, and it says Grinnell, Armstrong, Wesco, whatever, you get 3 quotes. I've been doing this for 30 years. But when you have something that's innovative, that does different things, or that lasts longer, like as we bought certain things, even lighting.
Yeah.
David, 50,000 hours? They're telling us I'll be dead in 50,000 hours. So how do you prove that you should get somebody to buy the 50,000 hour LED versus the 10,000?
Sure. Well, and what does that mean, in the long range?
Yeah.
There are definitely benefits to some of these lifespans where lighting, with entertainment, for instance, the entertainment lifespans tend to be a little bit lower because you're using them in a much more aggressive manner. So it really depends on the application. If it's a warehouse that you're going to be running the LEDs 24/7 because you don't close the doors, that's one thing. And so that those 50 hours do count down pretty quickly. But as well as the 50,000 hours, you're talking about really the depreciation. I mean, so many people still have fluorescent lights that they turn on and they don't emit any light, but they turn on so they think they still work. When we get to those 50,000 hours, the LEDs are still going to turn on. They're just not going to be at the same output that originally were
Well,
used
I
for.
could tell you this is, after I met you, I went to my house. I stopped at Home Depot. I have a ceiling fan with the the globe that's ceiling fan, and it's flashing. It's in because I took out the little 40-watt thing that it comes with, and I went to my wife. I said, I'm putting in an LED, and so I bought the candelabra LED, and I went, well, this is 25 watts, this is 40, this is 60. I'll buy the 60. It's only 9 watts. I go home, I go on my ladder, I take off the globe with the 2 or 3 little screws, and I turned it. I put this, this small little thing in, and I put it back. I turn it on, and it's flashing away. And I'm going like it must. So then I take it out, and I go to my chandelier that has it. It works perfectly. So I don't know if it's the light, the globe that doesn't want to go from 40 to an LED.
Well,
and here's a homeowner that's
right.
I'm being honest. Like I have it in my car. I'm bringing them back to Home Depot so I can either get the lower one. And also, when you open things up from the old lights and it says 40 watts, do not exceed, right? You're going to have a fire or whatever. So when people go, well, I'm putting in a 60 watt. Oh, it's only 9 watts.
Right.
And the heat isn't there. So a lot of things in controls, if it's built in, as we heard, when you do it up front, then the designer says, I'm buying this with this. It's made by the same people. It's going to work together. I can call one person and get it fixed, as she said. Then it's great. And as I said, I did a daylighting study, and Lutron were very supportive. They gave me the latest technology. They helped me figure out how to measure it.
A lot of manufacturers do that nowadays.
And in order to get our incentives, which I mentioned is in Ontario, 35 cents a kilowatt hour for networked lighting controls that can meet the International Monitor and Verification Protocol, which says this is what I would do, this is what I could do with lighting to the acceptance of those in the room or not in the room and not wasting money. And I'll do this at a time that's going to help the electric grid. Oh, thank you. You're giving me 35 cents a kilowatt hour towards that investment. And that was the incremental cost that everybody was talking about. Oh, Dolly's going to cost more. We do the same. Oh, we want the simplest building automation. I said the thing has 12 points. You can get the one with 36 points and more sensors for like about $10 more.
Yeah.
Like once you, it's just another piece of the board.
Yeah.
Oh no, you charge $350 to program each point. So why would I spend that extra money? So we've been through this with the building automation and the heating and
well, and building automation. I mean, there is still a lot of labor that is required to make that happen. So,
and I'm learning about the programming, like especially when I did the daylighting study and the automated shades, chromatic glass. Like our association worked with View and Sage, and because when you can have your glass, like your sunglasses, dim when the sun is coming, that chiller is going to work less.
Right.
And so that's the goal. That's gold to a PJM or NIPA as it's trying to keep because the last piece of electricity is the most expensive and dirtiest. That's how it works. They schedule the grid from the best base load to the next to the, we need more, we pay more.
Yeah.
And people don't know. They just get a bill.
Well, David, really appreciate you coming
on. I 100%
This was a great
enjoyed talking to you.
And anybody who's listening who wants to learn these things, please come down to the Canada Light Expo. This is the last day. If you're listening to the recording, well, sorry, you missed us. But check it out next year. Like it's going to happen in 2025 as well. But if you're watching the live stream, come check it out. There's a lot of great stuff to learn here. So thank you very much, David. And
I'd like to thank you, and check us out on LinkedIn. And we have a global network, and we're promoting sustainability as part of lighting.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.